This episode is brought to you by the Lash Boss newsletter. If you would like to receive a monthly newsletter from me, written by me, not AI, never sponsored, no ads included, and no spam too. Like, it's really just once a month that I send something out. It includes upcoming lash events, lash tips and trends, artists to watch, ones that are up and coming and that I have been finding valuable, and even books that I'm reading at the moment that are helping me run my business. Then subscribe to Lash Boss newsletter. Like I said, I send it out only once monthly, and it's packed with a ton of information that any lash artist would find valuable. You can subscribe at the link in the show notes or on my Instagram or on lashbossradio.com. Hey everyone, welcome back to Lash Boss Radio. I'm Shelby, your host, and today I am joined by two very special guests, Ashley and Hakim Gonzalez. Ashley is the education and social media marketing specialist at PLA, and Hakim is the Lash Poppy on Instagram and TikTok. You guys probably already know them both, but it is their first time on Lash Boss Radio, and I'm so excited. Welcome to the show, both of you.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Hi, Shelby.
Hi, I'm so excited to finally have you guys on.
Me too. We're excited. We've been a big fan of your show. And by me, I mostly mean me. Hakim is not a podcast person, but he's a big fan of you. So
thank you. That is so nice. Well, yeah, let's kind of hop right in with just like a quick introduction. Like I said, I'm sure everyone knows you guys already, but give me like a Cliff Notes version of y'all's history.
yeah, for sure. So, Ashley, Hakim, we've been married now for, I don't even know how many years, but we've been together since I was a teenager. And so Hakim's been a barber for now
Like 12, 13 years, yeah.
a long time. And he was the first one to get into like the beauty industry. And then I kind of followed him like a lot later. A few years later, I followed him. And over time, like it just made more sense to work together than to work separately. And that's when we joined forces and we started working the salon together, which turned into our training academy, which turned into our supply store. And then before you know it, we were both traveling, teaching classes all around the country, speaking at conferences. And so it really kind of was one of those things that just made sense to kind of work together instead of working on our own. He had his barbershop, I had my lash business. But the lash business, I mean, as you know, like it's just been growing exponentially for some time now. So we started working together, and that's when Hakim started creating like this silly content for the salon and stuff, like the Lash Poppy. And then before you know it, I mean, because initially he was for a hot second, he was
Hakimlicious.
yeah, Hakimlicious, because our salon name was Beautylicious. And so that's really where it started. But then he even was like, that just doesn't resonate with me. I don't like that name. Can I come up with something else? And it seemed like the name change really like helped a lot. People, it was easier to
remember and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, people didn't know what Hakimlicious meant.
And it was kind of catchy, you know.
For sure. Yeah.
Hakimlicious was just kind of like, what is that? Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where it's like, well, I taught him how to do lashes. He needed a name. And prior to that, he never had like
I wasn't really on social media
Yeah.
to begin with, honestly. I wasn't like a huge social media person. So
he didn't like social media at all, actually. He hated it. When I would tell him like, you need to post more, because he owned a barber shop. So I'm like, you need to post more content. You need to be more active, like on Google and stuff. He's like,
I was a big old hater. I'd be like, nah, that's for the young kids. I don't want to do that. I was like, the barbers in here don't post, and they're busy as hell. I don't need to be posting. Like I fought it for a long time.
He would say that it looked thirsty to post online. Like, hey, I have availability this week or something like that. He's like, it looks desperate. Like, it looks like I can't run my business. I don't need people thinking I'm like desperate for clients when I'm not. And so it was an uphill battle working with him in the beginning, because he wasn't interested in utilizing social media whatsoever. He had built his barbershop business just by working at, I mean, how many barbershops did you work at before you bought the shop?
Like 4?
Like maybe more, maybe
5.
like 5 barbershops. So over the course of his years as a barber, working at 5 different locations, that's how he built his clientele. He didn't use any type of like social media, internet, anything online to build his clientele at all.
So it wasn't until he started working with you that he was like promoting more so your stuff. And that's what got him on.
Hands down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had seen, I forgot the guy's name, but I wish I could say I remember his name. It was like this black guy that was doing nails,
Oh, yes.
and
Yeah.
he had like a lot of exposure. And I was like, oh, I was like, I could probably like start doing lashes and help like get into some exposure. I was like, I just have to get good at it because the guy was good at it. It's not like
Yeah,
I
he's
was like,
really good.
I was like, I can't fake the funk. I was like, obviously I'm gonna have to learn, but I was like, if I get good, I think I have a look that could grab some attention. And
That was always the plan. It was never really for him to be a lash artist. It was like I had a lot of clientele. And so he was like, I could make content and like do the clients that you're turning away because you're too busy. It was always just kind of like, it was never supposed to be that serious, I
yeah,
think. Like that's how it started. But then very quickly we started noticing like it wasn't just likes and comments and followers that he was getting. It was like testimonials, like people sending him emails and DMs like, "Oh my God, like you changed my life. Like you opened my eyes."
you inspired me to
Yeah.
to just do something different. You know, it wasn't even it wasn't always about doing lashes. It was like, oh, I've been thinking about doing something like
Nails,
yeah, something,
hair.
yeah. Like, you know what, but you're doing it and you're like obviously not scared. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Just, you know, put yourself out there. You never know what you're gonna get, you know, until you try it.
And that's really how we realized at a certain point, probably at about a year in, we were like, hey, I think we actually have something here. Like this could be really impactful in ways we hadn't anticipated. We just thought it was going to be like a little marketing ploy for the salon and for my classes, but it ended up being something way bigger than we could have imagined. And so it just made sense to kind of lean into that. And so when the whole trademark issue happened with our salon and the product line that we were selling, it was kind of like one of those divine intervention moments because we had already talked about like, you know, well, if we don't even have the salon anymore and we're leaning into courses and all this stuff, like might as well go with what people know us for. And that's really what they knew us for was because of Hakim. So it was a little confusing sometimes when people would find Hakim, you know, click on his bio and then it would be like Beautylicious website, right? Because they're like, wait, no, I'm trying to buy stuff from the Lash Poppy. Who is this? And then so we had a very low like click through rate. They'd go on our website and then they'd like bounce off. We had a very high bounce rate. So that wasn't really good, right? For SEO and things. And that was stressing me out. So at first, our first solution was to come out with like a Lash Poppy collection, right? On the first website. So people know like these are his favorites. And that worked a little, but nonetheless, like it's still like people working hard taking the connection between a name like Glam Glitz to the Lash Poppy. They're so inconsistent, and so that's where. And then around that same time, we got served with a letter, a cease and desist letter, basically saying that our trademark our trademark was in the
In the probation period.
yeah, like the approval, like where you have to wait
Yes.
and see if somebody, I think they get a certain amount of time. So we had already gotten through a couple steps, but we were like in that last step. And I remember thinking,
And of course, yeah,
this big beauty, like a retailer, like a makeup retailer has a name that's similar. It's not exactly the same. It's not even spelled the same, but it's similar enough to where they felt because we are in some of the same categories as them. That's the thing that sucks right now about lash industry when it comes to trademarking is that a lot of our tools, because we're so new, a lot of the tools fall under like makeup application tools or, you know, tweezers, like lash tweezers, for example, don't have its own category. They're going to fall under brow tweezers. And so because of that, even though we don't sell the same products at all, because they cannot be differentiated from the USPTO, then technically we sell the same stuff they do as far as they're concerned. So we could have, with our attorneys that we worked with to get the trademark going, told us that we have a really good chance of winning because we sell different products and because we have a different brand. The name is different, but this is a huge
but it would
multi-million
be
dollar
a
company.
crazy legal battle, you know, and
So we just were like, at a certain point, we were already like tens of thousands of dollars in just on like legal fees, like going back and forth, sending letters, setting appointments. And we got to the point where we were like, you know what? If this is what it's like and we're only a few months into dealing with this, imagine if we do get to litigation. Like how expensive is it going to be? Is it even worth it? You know, at that point, I think it was a little bit of my pride that was keeping me kind of fighting the fight. And then I really stepped back and I was like, you know what? Maybe this is the sign that we needed. And Hakim agreed. He's like, you know, if this is the push we needed to tell us that, hey, we don't need to use that name. And I would say we experienced a huge increase after that happened in our classes and our products. And it was the shift that we needed to go full on Lash Poppy for our brand.
Wow. Well, what did that feel like for you guys at first, like doing that? Were you expecting that, or were you kind of nervous that something was gonna happen?
To be honest, I think the moment I got the first letter, I think I already started letting go. Like, just attorney stuff, just anything to do with the law really freaks me out. Like, I hate being late for appointments. I'm like one of those people that I do not want to ever disappoint anyone. I don't want to get people in trouble. Where I come from, like, breaking the law isn't crazy unheard of, but I just always promised myself I would just not be that person. I never want to step foot in a courthouse if I don't have to. Like, so when I saw that letter, I was kind of like, just quit, just dump it. Like, let's just throw everything away. Like, we make money selling courses, we make money other ways. So I was kind of like, F it, I'll go back to doing lashes full time. Like, I don't need this drama. And Hakim was kind of like, I quit. I let go of my barbershop for this.
So I was like, this is who I am now. What the hell?
Yeah, so Hakeem was kind of the one that was like, it got to the point where was it pride that was speaking for me? Maybe like he was telling me, do you want to let go of it because you don't want me to be the face of the company? Is that the problem? And I hadn't thought about it like that consciously, but maybe that was what it was. People in my city would call me Beautylicious Ashley. Like that was my whole like existence. I built this from the ground up. I mean, I built Beautylicious during times where me and Hakim, I wanted to divorce him because he wasn't as supportive as I needed him to be. Like he wasn't giving me money to buy lash supplies when I needed it, right? Because I wasn't making a lot in the beginning. No one does. And so like it was my blood, sweat, and tears. And it was more that than anything. So maybe there was a sense of like pride and ego that was like, no, like you built this. And I had people in my I had some friends in my ear saying like, are you really going to let him be the face of the company you build? And even though that's not like my nature to want to be the face of the company, it's just when you have things in your ear and there's so much going on, it was a thought, I guess. And I pulled myself together and thank God for therapy because I'm able to like listen to myself and be more aware. And I'm like, maybe that is what it is. Would it make more sense to have Hakeem be the face of the brand? And it just made more sense. It made way more sense.
I think it also worked just because I always gave like Ashley her flowers. It's not like I ever tried to take credit for doing anything. I always say Ashley's the real like the real brains behind the operation. Like I think it would have been a different vibe if I would have been like always like, oh, forget about my wife, like the attention's over here now.
Yeah, I have more followers and I'm the one you should listen to.
But if you guys have ever been around me or seen me at any shows or anything, you guys know that I'm always saying it's Ashley. It's never been me. Like I kind of help with what I can, but pretty much everything that's ever been in our business has been Ashley. So I'm not shy to say it. So I feel like that also helped.
For sure, that helped the decision. Like it's not like I was ever afraid that. And to be honest, though, the funny thing is, like, I don't really love being the face anyways. I like the back end stuff. I like I love like trying to figure out the SEO and trying to figure out algorithms so that I can help him and help people that I work with be that visionary person that they so desperately want to be. So it just made sense. It made sense for me to be more in the sidelines and him to be more in the front because that's not really his thing, like doing the technology and the web setup and all that. That's not his thing at all. So it was kind of like, why am I fighting something that is so natural? Like this makes sense. And it really did. And we saw it within the first couple months. Like it was crazy how fast it started to grow and how much people wanted it. And it just made more sense. So sometimes, as a business owner, that's where we struggle. It's like we start something and we're so passionate about something. And then also, like I said, like Hakim's not necessarily passionate about lashes. And so that like he never sat down with me and was like, wow, that looks so fascinating. I want to do that for a living. It was never like that. Hakim was always like, can we make money doing this? And I think that was, I think we can make money. There's money in that. And for me, it's a passion thing. Like my business has always been a passion. So I think being in that position where it's like, I don't want someone to take over my company that just wants to make money and isn't passionate. But then when I thought about it, I'm like, well, I'll still be in control because I'm still the one making the decisions. And so, yeah, it's checking yourself and looking at your ego and remembering that you can't base your decisions as a business owner on your feelings. You have to base it on what makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure also like when that first happened, like you mentioned, like when you first got that letter, your mind is already like going and okay, we could do this, or this. And it's just as entrepreneurs, like that's what we naturally do. Every time we're met with a problem, I'm sure, you know, having a salon or whatever, you've gone into every conversation that's like someone's presenting a problem and you're already like, okay, get to the point because we can do this, and this. These are the options.
Yes.
But I think it ended up working out really well for you guys, and it happens to work. Like as you guys are talking, and every time I interact with you guys in person too, I feel this way. But you know how people just love like dynamic duos, and they love seeing like power couples and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of those times, which is it's a great thing, but a lot of times it's almost like they're a package. You have to see them together. Or that's how your mind sees them, as like a package, right? With you guys, y'all are individually both up here in my mind. And then just together, it's just fascinating to watch. And I think that's why y'all's following is so loyal and almost like a cult following, right? I feel like whenever I visited you guys' booth at LashCon this past year, I could hardly talk to y'all because there was so many people like that kept on coming up to talk to you, and y'all sold out like your new earrings like super fast. Anyways, so it must have just like hopefully felt good that it was like the right decision, you know?
I appreciate you saying that because I think that's something we've talked about in the back end too. Something that you see a lot of the times with like what you said, like just these partnerships. That's what we talked about at Lash Boss Summit last year was partnerships. And in my opinion, the best partnerships work because you don't necessarily need each other, but you can work very well together. Like you respect the strengths that each other has. Like some other examples are like Paul and Tessany, right? Like Paul has his own genius in, you know, in sales and in event throwing, right? And that's his genius. Like even with essentially at this point, even, I mean, no, they're never going to be apart, but like hypothetically, even without Tessany, like LashCon has become huge. Yes, in huge part to Tessany, but like Paul, that's almost who you associate Paul with LashCon, right?
Yes.
And then with Tessany, I think of like Integrity Lash. I think of, you know, nerdy lash discovery things that, and not that, and obviously they're both play roles in all of it, but they have their own geniuses aside from each other. And then they come together and they're lash cast and they're, you know, speaking on stages. And yes, I would gladly listen to either of them on their own about whatever their specialty is. But when they're together, and that's what something we wanted. We didn't want to fall into the trap of like, well, if he's not available, then they don't want me and vice versa. And, you know, and honestly, Hakim is way more comfortable on camera, on stage with me anyways.
Yeah,
So
I kind of feed off of Ashley. I let her kind of take the lead, and then I'll just throw in like my little sideline, my little jokes here and there, and try to bring some personality to the.
And it just, you're right. It works better. And I think people need to see more of that. I know that I didn't really grow up seeing a lot of people that looked like me in really healthy, you know, good dynamics. So I think that coming from that perspective, we have people that are like us. Hispanic community is growing at a rapid rate in the lash industry, but a lot of times we're coming from single parent homes and like, or just, you know, and that's just the world as a whole, right? But especially in minority families because the resources are limited and, you know, you just don't have access to the mental health and like, you know, all of those things. So you see a lot more unhealthy home environments. I'm trying to word it really well, but like that this is unique for us, like for our people. They see, wow, those two people have been together. Ashley was a teenager when they got together and we had a kid really young. I got pregnant at 19. And like to see us still not only just married together, but doing okay. I mean, we're not perfect. No one's perfect, but like we're handling it and we're making it work every day. And I think that is something that I love to be a part of. Like I want that for as many people as possible out there. Like no matter where your background is or how you started, like you can have it if that's what you want.
Absolutely. So now, so I want to kind of talk about your, because you now work with PLA. I want to talk about that, but how has that shifted what you guys are doing with the Lash Poppy and everything?
Everything.
Yeah.
Totally, completely. Yeah. So we actually haven't really openly talked about what our plans are anywhere else. So this will be the first time that we kind of talk about it, but we have really big plans to completely pivot. When I first took the position here at PLA, that's where we are right now. We're in the studio at PLA. When I first took the position here, you know, it's a big, um, adventure, I guess. Like, it was a big deal for us because, I know how to sell products. I know how to make money. I know how to sell courses. I've traveled all around the country, teaching classes, speaking at conferences. And so being in that position where like I know that the sky's kind of the limit for us, especially me combined with like his uniqueness, right? I know that we can do literally anything, and we've proven it to ourselves. We threw an event, our own little tiny event, and it was a complete success. Like, after doing things that I didn't think I could do, and every time being able to do them, I got to a point where I finally felt like, wow, I could do whatever I want. And so to be in that position and then be offered a position here at PLA to help them with their education and revamp, you know, a lot of the things that they were working on and help them bring to life all these huge projects they want to do, it was a huge honor. But also at the same time, I had to really reflect and say, like, does that mean like I have to give up what I've been working on? And, you know, there's so many feelings, and Hakim's just like in my corner all the time. Like, you'll kill it out here, but you'll kill it in there. And like, they're awesome. He came first. He actually visited for the masterclass last year. And he, was like,
I just hung out here, met everybody, and I was just like, you know what? They're just really nice people. They're really cool. I think it'd be a good team to work with. Like, they seem like they're
he's being modest
yeah, like,
about like how he was reacting.
yeah,
He was gassed up. He was like, "Hey, you have to work here. Like, you would love it. These people are just like you. Like,
you'll have the resources to try all the stuff that you've been wanting to try
Right.
and do all these cool new different things." And
that was one of my issues, is that I have such big dreams, and I mean, I don't want to brag on myself, but I know how to do a lot of things. Like, I had to teach myself because we didn't have the resources or the help to like do all the things I was doing. So I had to figure it out myself. And because of that, there's so many things I want to do, right? Like, when you have a podcast and you teach classes and you have a product line, your brain is going a million miles. Like, what's the next move? But the problem is when it's just you and your husband and a small team that's supporting you, you don't always have the resources to be able to invest in like this new machine or this new lighting or this new, you know, whatever, the new thing that you need in order to effectively do that. Because what people don't understand is that when you have multiple avenues of revenue income streams, right? That means multiple businesses. Like, that's the part that's very not very well talked about. You don't just have multiple ways of making money.
it's not just more money coming in and less work.
No.
It's more money and a lot more work.
Exponentially more work, and you don't get more time. Like, you don't magically have more hours in the day or more days in the week. And so that was one of the issues that I ran into a lot, was I want to do all these things, but I'm only one person. And as much as Hakim loves and supports me, like, his brain doesn't work the way mine does. And so
You're killing it, babe. Only go so far.
yeah, exactly. The words of affirmation are great, but they don't help me get stuff done. And so Adderall helped a little, but I had to chill with that. But yeah, and so we realized like all the things that I want to do, all my hopes and dreams for our company, PLA was kind of already doing them. Like, everything I want to be for the world, like, I want to give people opportunities for employment that have a hard time getting jobs, for example. That's a big dream of mine. Like, I have family members, like relatives, like my dad and my uncles, that like have a really hard time getting or maintaining jobs because of their colorful past. And that's something that I'm really passionate about, giving people chances that normally people wouldn't, especially in the corporate world. And it's something that people don't think about, is like, people who have criminal records, they can't get a government job because they just can't, like, they're not allowed to. But then corporate companies don't want to hire them because they have a criminal record. And it's like, well, where are they supposed to work? So no wonder that the turnover rate of them just going right back to what they were doing is so high, because what are the options out there for them?
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, sure, start a business, but with what funds, with what support, right? And so that's something I've always been really passionate about. And Hakim knows that. I'm like, I want to have a company that's so successful, I can hire my dad to manage it. I can hire my uncle to work there. And because I know they'd be great. And Michelle does that. She hires people who are very underqualified to do their jobs, and she gives them a chance, and she teaches them, and she mentors them, and she gives people chances. And so to me, I'm like, this company already does what I wanted to do. Like Paul always tells us he loves having us as sponsors for LashCon because the number one thing that people say is like, oh my God, that booth was so nice. They were so friendly. You know, they're so nice to everybody and nobody was talking to me and they came up to me. And so that's so much of like who we are. And PLA is already that on a larger scale. So to me, it was like, again, how to put my ego aside and put my pride aside and say, yes, could I do that? I could, but why not just join forces with somebody who's already doing it? Like, it just makes more sense. Like, and that was really the deciding factor. I'm like, Michelle's already built something that's almost a mirror image of what my dreams were for us. And so I'll have to say that the pink I've had, it's grown on me. The pink is a lot. The pink is not my thing, but like it's grown on me and I feel like I have become way more pink inside and out since being at PLA. But yeah, the initial transition to taking the job there was just a lot of thoughts in my mind, but it made sense. Again, like putting my pride and all of those things aside, I'm like, this makes sense. Like, this is an incredible company. They do incredible stuff that that so much that people don't even know about that PLA does. And the more I learned about the company, I came to visit myself and I'm like, why don't you guys talk about this stuff? Like,
What are some of those things that you can share?
right. Yeah, no, something, I mean, like, that's the thing. They will share things here and there, but like, for example, Paris pays your bills. I'll be fully transparent. I didn't really know about Paris pays your bills. I thought it was like a one-time thing that I saw once on social media, but every single month, Paris gives away sometimes up to $20,000 to lash artists and nail techs now because we branched out into nails, but like, for things like their school tuition. They bought someone a car once. Like they
when I
pay
came,
for education
the first time I came, they gave for that class, they gave someone like $35,000.
for a car. Like, I mean, they just constantly and it's crazy to me. Like that is just one thing. And the way they get that money, by the way, is from the department that I work in, which is education. Any classes that are purchased, the money, all the profit goes towards Paris pays the bills.
Wow.
So education department's not even a technically profitable department. So I actually cost money technically for PLA. I don't actually generate any income for PLA as far as education goes. Even if I sell out all our classes for the rest of the year, PLA doesn't profit from that. So that was something that was crazy. And second of all, like I also didn't know how insanely affordable and attainable PLA classes are. Like our 3-day Lash Foundations Unleashed that just launched, 3-day class, lunch is included, kit is included, headshots are included. What else is included? A marketing class is included, breakfast on the first day. I mean, a kit. I mean, it's just crazy how much you get. You get to do 2 models in class. You get to watch a model in class. Plus, you get 1 year access to the virtual lessons. So basically, you get online course access for a whole year. I mean, like all that, and it's $405.
Whoa.
Yes, it's crazy. Like, and we do one like a class every month. Like, we do we max it out at 8 students. Like, it's such a small class because they want to make sure everyone gets ample time. There's usually 3 trainers, at least 2, but sometimes 3. I didn't know that. I didn't even know that. I'm like, why have I never taken a class with you guys? What am I doing? Like, why didn't I take a class with PLA? And yeah, those are just like some of the, things. I mean, Michelle employs so many people overseas that, again, are underqualified. She gives people chances. Like, she does so much for them and like makes sure that they get a livable wage, which like, who does that? Who makes sure that people in foreign countries are getting a foreign, people outsource from overseas so that they don't have to do that. They do it so that they can like try and get it for as low as they can and to exploit people. And Michelle has literally made her own factories for our lashes so that she can control the wages and the work environment for the people. Like all of that to me gets me emotional because I'm like, that is like everything I would do. Like that's everything I would do. So but I didn't know any of that stuff. And there's so much more, but like those are some of the main things. I made a video, like a reel yesterday about like some of the perks of working at PLA kind of. And yeah, like there's a daycare on site, there's just so many cool things here that we have like access to. And I just don't think people know that. If I had known that about PLA, to be completely honest, I don't know that I would have started our product line. If I would have known that there was a company that had this type of culture, I would have wanted to support that company. I started Beautylicious because partially for profitability and margins and stuff for sure, but also because I didn't know anyone else out there was like me at the time. I really only saw brands that were very much like inclined to be concerned with like hardcore aesthetic, like very not that there's anything wrong with that. We're in the beauty industry, but it seemed like it was kind of a, you know, they say a boys club, like a girls club, and it was hard to penetrate. And, you know, that was kind of the exclusive, the elites. And PLA is like the opposite of that. It's like everyone belongs, everyone has a place, there's room for everybody, and we'll, if not, we'll make it. And so if I would have known that, this is where I would have been from the beginning, but I didn't know, you know? And so that's what I hope to change with PLA being here, is like showing everyone this brand exists. Like, this is where you belong.
Yeah. And I think if I was listening to this as a lash artist, I feel like I'd feel very. So I don't know if this is going to click or make sense, but you know how whenever, imagine if you're just now getting licensed and you're seeing every post on Instagram, it is way more flooded than it ever used to be, right?
For sure.
People are like posting their wins every single day. They're creating content every single day. It is a lot of information, and it's a lot of like success constantly thrown on your timeline, on your feed. And I can imagine that that would make me feel, if I was just starting out and thinking, what do I want to do? Oh my gosh, I'm inadequate. I'm not doing enough. I'm not there yet. I have to do these things. But if I was listening to this episode, you saying that, it would make me feel like a little at ease. Like I don't have to create the whole thing. I could try and go find a company that really aligns with what I want and what I believe in, and I could just go work for someone that's already established that and get paid really well. And you know, and it's
enjoy your job and not be stressed out.
Probably less stress. Yeah. I think that that's a really cool message. And that's a big reason why I wanted you to talk about that at the summit, which we'll talk about later. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll give more specifics and more details on like what, like the pros and the cons, and like, you know, what I found for sure. I'll be way more detailed, but that was the gist of it. Just finding out how much more aligned we were than I thought we were even. And you know, Hakim really just came here with, they're incredible, they're doing awesome things, and they're really nice. And I was kind of like, cool, but like, does that mean I need to uproot my whole entire life and, you know, all of my life's work to go and work there? I don't know if them being cool and nice and fun is like what that's like care about.
That's all it tells me. Are they cool, fun? Let's go hang out.
For me, it's like, it has to make sense. And yeah, so for me, I would say it kind of clicked pretty easily. Hakim was already on board before. I think he was on board before Michelle even offered me the job, to be honest. He was already like, you're working there. Like, you belong there. That's where you're meant to be. And it just came pretty natural. Like it happened within weeks.
It happened so fast.
Within weeks, we just up and moved because the timing was school was about to start, and I have 2 kids, and that they're my main concern. Like above anything else, their comfort and their life stability is huge for kids. And when I realized like, hey, we're gonna have to move 600 miles away, and uproot their entire lives, I talked to my oldest daughter, and I was like, hey, like thinking about taking this job. But Michelle was really sensitive. She's like, if you want, we can do the bulk of it. Like, you can fly out every now and then for the big projects we're working on, and you can be remote for a while. And then once you decide, like, is this something you really want to do, then you can move, you know? And she was hoping I'd move by like January. So like this last month. And I talked to my daughter about it, my 11-year-old, and immediately, of course, Waterworks. She was like, we're going to move, like my friends and all this stuff. And I'm like, I understand, but like this, you know, it's going to be good for us. And she's so wise and mature that she was like, Mom, if we're going to move, can we just move now before school starts? Because I don't want to move in the middle of the school year. It's going to like tear me apart. I'm going to be so sad. And I'd rather just tear off the Band-Aid, just rip it off. And I agreed with her. I was like, you're right. That makes more sense. I mean, we could always move back. I mean, worst case scenario is, you know, you could always move back. But completely honest, like I don't see myself ever like we're from Southern California. And so if you know anything about people from Southern California, like that's your whole personality. Like when you grow up in a beach city like we did, that's who you are. And that was who I was. And so to be here now in Northern Nevada, like it's definitely a shift, but in all the right ways. Like we have 2 small kids. We have 2 daughters, and it's so safe here. It's so like just chill, and
it's a lot different.
It's a lot
lot different than back home.
Yeah.
So, Hakim, what has it been like for you watching Ashley in this new role? And then also for the Lash Poppy, like, do you feel more pressure on you because she's more doing this over here? Like, what has that been like?
Oh, it's definitely more
Be
pressure.
honest, you can be honest.
It's definitely a lot more pressure on me now because Ashley isn't able to. Before, like I had Ashley like with me. I work all day, and she'd be the one that's like she said earlier in the post, like Hakim's not always the one that wants to create content, but she'd be like on my ass a little bit, like, hey, you know what? It's about that time.
I would hold him accountable.
Yeah, so
That's how I would phrase that.
she'd put me to work. So I'm real lenient, and like I'll let time go by and I'll be like, dang, like I haven't posted or I haven't done some work. And to be honest, like like I said, a lot of the stuff that was Lash Poppy or was Delicious was actually a lot of the good idea. Like I have good ideas too, but
You have great ideas.
But a lot of like the hard work, like I think people don't understand like how hard Ashley actually work. She works so hard. So for me to see her doing her thing over here, which is kind of cool because she still works really hard, but she gets to like chill a little bit now too. Because back home, she was just constantly working. It's like you can't turn it off when you had
Like 14-hour days were regular for me.
Yeah, and then like it was
I'm not bragging, by the way. That's not bragging at all.
It was just getting like, I wouldn't say it was like affecting our home life a lot, but it is stressful. You know what I mean? Like we're just working all day, and then sometimes I always like to joke like, if we didn't work together, like if I was mad at my boss, I don't have to see him no when I get home. But I go home with my boss, so I'd be like, like we've been going through it at work, and like I said, for the most part, everything like we honestly do agree on a lot of stuff. I just mess around a lot. So, and Ashley's a real serious person. She'll be like, all right, Hakim, it's time to get to work now. Like enough with the jokes already.
Hakim always makes the joke that like when I say I'm broke, I have a good amount of savings in my bank account. But when Hakim says he's broke, it means like literally he has pennies in his pocket. And that's kind of the way we are. Like that literally sums us up. Like Hakim is such a YOLO, treat yourself, live your life. Life is short. And I'm such a prepare for the worst, and always be prepared and like never put your expectations up and don't trust anybody. And I'm such a like we're the opposite when it comes to the way we run our businesses. And so
it was a good balance, but now it's like it's kind of leaning on my side right now. So right now I've just been working on going to school. I've been creating content, but I need to get back on it. Honestly, I've been kind of slacking for the past couple weeks. But
well, the thing is though, like so something that I do is I work with people. I actually took a break from that, but I've been working with people, mostly solo artists, who want to like learn how to leverage their social media and grow their salon or grow their small suite or whatever. And one of the things that I stress is that everything can't be viral. Like you shouldn't be chasing virality forever. And Hakim has had so much virality over the years, which is great, right? It was great for exposure and for reach, but at a certain point that gets really tired. And what you have to do is if you really want to make money off of that exposure, you have to nurture, you have to convert.
Yeah.
And that was something that we noticed about a year or so into building up the Lash Poppy. We realized he wasn't really converting the way I was, where I was like 10,000 followers, but I converted way more than they did.
But they love Ashley. Yeah, those 10,000 people like adore her. Like they worship. Yeah,
it's different. Whereas like those 100,000 followers he had liked him.
Yeah, they liked him.
And they think he's funny. But that you don't buy $2,000 courses because you like someone and think they're funny. You buy a $2,000 course and fly across the country and get a hotel and get a babysitter for the week because you love and value somebody. And so it worked for us in the beginning because he would kind of get the attention and I would do the rest of the work. I'd do the heavy lifting. But the problem was now that I'm over here and I'm busy and I mean, Michelle is really forgiving and very generous. She is cool with us continuing to do what we do because she understood that we came as a package, right? But the problem is that I'm so busy and I'm so invested and I'm so passionate about helping PLA accomplish the things that they're working on that I don't have a whole lot left over for Lash Poppy anymore. And so we realized at a point we're like, okay, that's actually not good because Ashley was the converter. So how does that work now? So we realized that Hakim needs to transition his content and his audience to be more of a nurturing relationship.
To like me, to love me, to feel like they know me a little bit more. So if you guys notice, I've been doing like more vlogging style, like getting to know me. Whereas before I was just creating funny videos and stuff. Yeah. Like obviously I still have humor in my videos, but it's more like behind the scenes, getting to know me, getting to see what I'm doing.
It's been a major strategy shift with our content.
And we've seen a major improvement, honestly. Like
for sure.
The engagement's like pretty like.
Yeah, a lot better.
Well. Yeah.
So that's like, because of that, We're not getting a lot more first time buyers or like those kind of things. We're more securing the return customers and stuff like that. But something that we're really kind of keeping on our radar is that there's some huge like shifts in the beauty industry that are coming. You have MOCRA that is going to start getting enforced in July of this year, which is the FDA is going to start paying more attention to cosmetics, which for the longest time in the United States, that was not a thing, right? Europe has had that forever. Europe has very high standards for where products are made and what's in them and the packaging process, whereas the United States really didn't care about where you got your stuff. You could, slap a label on anything and sell it in the United States as far as cosmetics go. But in July 1st, and I'm sure it'll get extended because these things always do. But as of right now, the date is July 1st. The FDA is going to be actually enforcing the laws about FDA regulating the cosmetics. So that's basically anything that I believe I read the legislation and it pretty much says anything that is cosmetic, so superficial, to be worn for more than 24 hours, I believe. So lash extensions would fall under that. And so because of that, like some of the products we have, in order to get them compliant with the FDA's, new regulations, it's going to be expensive. Like that's the whole point, right? They do these things for money. They do it not so much because they care about us, but they do it to make money and to stimulate the economy. And when I'm here with PLA, like this is my priority. I don't have the time to work on that right now. And that's not Hakim's strong suit. That would be something that would fall under my duties. And the more we talk about it, we're like, do we want to fight this fight now? We got over one thing and like, do we want to go through with this? What if some of our stuff doesn't meet the requirements? What are we going to do? We're going to have to look for new vendors and all these things. And the more it just makes sense to me to kind of pivot again. And so what that looks like for us in the next 6 months, that's to be continued. Yeah. We not 100, we don't 100% have that ironed out, but the point is definitely changes are going to happen for us. And it just come back to making sense. Like it makes sense that we would make that pivot in our retail line when Hakim is now a one-man show and he doesn't really perform the best as a one-man show. Like we are, when it comes to that, we're a team, and without the team, then what, right? Like, what do you do without a quarterback? Like,
out of curiosity, Hakim, would you ever join, it doesn't have to necessarily be PLA, but would you join a company yourself?
I would. We've talked about it. Yeah. So as long as like obviously I'd have to be happy with whatever the offer is and with whatever the work is that they want to do. But yeah, I'm open to it. I've been open to a lot of things. I feel like me and Ashley are just like the king and queen of pivots. Like we're just down to pivot and work. Well, if it works, it works. You know what I mean? If it's,
I think one thing that me and Hakim, when we talk about this a lot, is that one trait that we have cumulatively is we're not emotionally tied to any part of our business, really. Like not really. Like the name, the location, the brand, the logo, whatever. Like we're not really emotionally tied to anything, because at the end of the day, like we know, like I know I can literally quit everything. I can quit this job at PLA. I can quit everything and I can go home. And what's something I didn't really do a lot of? Facials. I could start a facial business and I know I'd be okay because I know how to make money. I know how to get customers. I know how I know what a good client experience looks like. And so because I have that in the back pocket, I guess, and Hakim does as well. He's a barber. He's a great barber. Like, because we both know how to do that, there's a level of like
security. Like we're not as scared. Some people are more scared to do certain things. Whereas even right now, like I'm on the fence of even starting work. Now that we're in Reno, like which is new to us, I literally hang out with the girls at school and then my girls at home. So I told Ashley, I was like, you know what, I might just even start cutting hair again. That's why I've been like hinting to like now that I was like, I might start working at a barbershop just to create a life out here, like not so much because
for the money.
I mean, the money's gonna be good. It's not bad either, but like it's just because
why not?
Yeah.
Have something that you're passionate about
until something,
Yeah.
So what would you guys say? Like, I'm sure there's people listening that are hanging on to something and won't pivot for whatever reason. What would you say to them? What could you speak to that on?
I would say don't hold on too long, because sometimes opportunities come and they don't stay for long. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to jump on the opportunities that you get. You don't want to, like let stuff get like, oh no, I'm holding on and thinking that's another chance is going to come by another.
Yeah, second chance.
It's sometimes it's like I don't know if you guys ever heard like that saying. It's like some guy was drowning or something in the ocean. He was like praying to God and he's like, "Oh, please God save me." And then some guy comes on like on a rowboat and he's like, "Hey man, he's like, no, God's gonna save me." And then like a yacht comes by and then he's like, "No, God's gonna save me." And then like a cruise ship comes in, like, "Oh no, we're good. God's gonna save me." And then he finally dies and God's like, well, why are you here? He's like, "Oh, you didn't save me." He goes, "I sent 3 things like in your direction and you just didn't take them." Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you just have to be open to changing
that what you're looking for may not look
the
like
way you think it's gonna look like, but it's
and if like then there's the people probably that's like if you have opportunities presenting themselves to you, right? But what if you don't? What if you feel like if you're one of those people that's like, well, I don't feel like I have any opportunities coming my way, right? If you've ever talked to me long enough, you know that I have the philosophy of like no one's coming to save you. And I think like that's just something that I live by. And that's, I don't know, it's probably saved me a lot of times because I don't ever think anyone owes me anything. I never think that I never just sit around and wait for some great thing to happen to me. I work really, really hard and I there's been so many times like there's all this talk of Paul keeps talking about like the MRR stuff, the master resale rights, and like all these things, right? There's so many opportunities that I've had out there to make a quick buck that I can resell or I can, package a Canva template real quick and say, here, $10 just for today. Like I could do that. My followers will buy it if I tell them to because they trust me, right? I've built that trust over the last 10 years. And so I've had plenty of opportunities when times were tough to just be like, I'm just going to slap something together and like make a quick buck, but I never do it. I've actually gone through and like created something similar to this master resale rights thing before, done all the modules on Kajabi and like been ready to go. And then I just can't hit send. I just can't do it. And I think like that's something that's really important to remember is that like staying true to who you are and like never doing anything that's unaligned with what you believe in. That's when opportunities come to you. That's when you get chances. But what other people do is just they try to just hop around and jump to everything. And like one of these things is going to stick, one of these things is going to be the ticket. And for me, I don't wait for one thing to come and be the ticket. I make it. And or I work with Hakim and like I have an amazing partner who's like, hey, I see this. You didn't see this, but I see this and I listen. And so that's really what I'm getting to is like being open to things and like taking that opportunity. Maybe it's working at a salon that you were dead set when you got out of esthetician school of opening up your own studio, right? But you just can't afford it or whatever. Maybe you go get a job at a salon. Like that's how we all started. We all started working at a salon. Like I didn't just drop out, you just get out of beauty school and open up Beautylicious. Like I worked first from home. I worked at salon on the weekend before I got my license. And, like you make your way is what I'm trying to say. Like you just don't wait for it to happen. You make your way.
You change your barbershop into a lash salon.
You change your barbershop into a lash salon. Exactly. They're not always going to present to you is my point. Sometimes you have to make it. And the worst thing I feel like, what do they always say? They're like, you'll only regret the things you didn't do and not the things that you did on your deathbed. That's what I've heard people say. And that's something I believe in like wholeheartedly. I would rather live my life knowing that I tried something and it didn't work out rather than living the rest.
I could have been.
Yes. I mean, like now that I work at PLA, like I see all these amazing things we're working on that I wouldn't have any knowledge of if I didn't work here. And if I would have gotten this offer and declined it because I didn't want to get uncomfortable and like move away, and I would have seen some other girl doing all the things that we're gonna do. I can't even imagine how horrible I'd feel. I'd be like, oh my God, I could have done it better. That could have been me. And I just never want to be that could have been me girl. Like, that's just not who I want to be. I want to be I'd rather be what? I tried and I learned a lot about myself. And moving forward, I won't make these mistakes again, girl. I'll rather be that girl.
Absolutely. So cool. I want to ask you guys about Lash Boss Summit.
Yes, our favorite.
So you guys are speaking on stage again this year, this time something different. Can you talk a little bit about your topic, about your presentation?
Yeah, for sure. So we always base whenever we speak at conferences, we always make sure we base it off of what people want from us. And so we're not one of those people that just pick what we do because to sell a course. first of all, I want to open up with that. Like, this does not lead into any course that we sell or anything like that. This is literally just us giving as much value and helping where we can. And something that people don't know about Hakim and myself is that talking to the camera, showing up on social media, doing podcasts, like doing all the things that now we're almost kind of known for does not come natural to us. Like, I was talking to Carol Jamie. She does coaching and stuff like that. She was a lash artist for a long time. And she tells me that like it was always natural for her, like creating content, posting selfies, like talking to the camera, that it just always came, like she likes it, genuinely enjoys it. And I remember envying her so much because it's not easy for me even today. Like, I'm nervous, like I get nervous and I overthink everything. And I'm constantly thinking about what oh, you gotta go. He has to go. He has to go to school.
Okay.
Go get our daughter.
Okay.
I thought I said a story.
Sorry.
I don't want to be late picking her up.
No,
Sorry.
you're
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Bye.
But I'll wrap it up. But basically, yeah, Hakim was really nervous. He didn't like creating content for a really long time. I'm good with writing. I'm good with words. So I like writing content. So I always saw myself as being like a writer or like a copywriter, something like that. That's some place where I feel really comfortable, is like behind the keyboard and like expressing, like getting a message across. But talking to the camera is really difficult, and seeing myself. Oh, the worst is like editing when you're first starting out and you have to edit your own stuff and you have to hear your voice. When I filmed my first class and I'm like cutting, it's like 8 hours worth of video and I had to watch it all over and like see where I cut things. When I make jokes and I'm like, wow, that was so cheesy. Like, that was not even funny. And it's really hard, is my point. I don't enjoy it. But for us, what I found is the impact is just unmatched. Like, yes, you can create content and never show your face. Yes, you can post pictures and just have really good copy. You can, and there's people who do it. But what I always say is that talking to the camera is like the gasoline that you throw on top of the fire that already exists inside of you. So yes, you can totally sell without ever showing your face on camera. But all of the people that people pay to see at LashCon and Lash Boss Summit, all of the people that you fly across the country or across the world to go learn from, all of them have one thing in common, and they all talk to the camera. They all do face to camera. Like, that's just a thing that is a way that we connect with people, that it feels as close as possible to talking to them in real life, right? Especially when the pandemic happened and we longed for that community and that connection that we weren't having from being locked in our homes. And it was the thing that kept us together. The lash industry, in my opinion, grew so tight knit through the pandemic, because we talked to each other on Clubhouse, we talked to each other, on Instagram Live, and we were doing whatever we could to stay relevant, kind of, and also stay in the public eye. And it's just so powerful. And I can talk all day about how powerful talking to the camera is, but that doesn't mean it's easy. It's not easy. But the level of authority that it builds, the level of connection that it builds is unmatched. There's nothing else that does the same thing as being on camera. So we want to share how we were able to do it, even though, Hakim and I, we're not, the perfect bodies, perfect faces. And we have become really diligent about like not using filters and just showing up completely raw. And that is not easy. Let me tell you, like, being in the beauty industry and seeing like a very specific type of person with very strong filters and like editing their faces, it can make you never want to show up, because you're, like you said earlier, like as a new lash artist, you see these perfect curated lash sets and you're like, oh, well, I should just quit because my work's never going to look like that. Well, same. I'm never going to look like XYZ person who just looks so flawless on camera. So my thoughts initially are, let me just don't do it then. But if it wasn't for speaking on camera, if it wasn't for going live, I wouldn't have never met Paul, who would have never introduced us to LashCon, who would have never had us as speakers. If I wasn't, going live or sharing my stories, I would have never had the opportunity for you to hear me talk and be like, hey, she has something to say that I want to share, right? So many people say, how do you get on stage? How do you do this? How are people paying you to come teach classes? Because I don't shut up, because I talk to the camera. And like, I feel like people want a different answer. They want me to say because of their logo or because of something that they can just pay someone to do. And it's just not. Like, people want to hear from me, from Hakim, from you, from all these incredible people, because they talk to the camera. But it's easy to say, just do it, right? Just do it. And I understand that that's not the way people work. So I have created a little bit of, I don't want to say like a formula, but kind of like I have this system that I teach people in my coaching program, people that I've been teaching here at PLA, like how to overcome that fear. And it's a simpler, I'm not saying easy, it's not easy, but it's simpler than you think. It's, you don't have to take acting classes or speech classes. Like there's ways to get comfortable on camera all on your own, all from your own phone. And I've been able to, I did the same thing with Hakim and look at him now. Like,
amazing. I cannot wait. I loved having you guys there last year. And y'all's talk was very popular. My mom was even there to watch it. She saw like some of the talks whenever she came, and she was obsessed with you guys too. So.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah.
No, we had a really good time. And like I said, we don't just talk about what we want to talk about. We talk about what the people want to hear. And that's what we always do. I do surveys. I ask, I'm a numbers, logistics kind of person. So I'm like, what do you guys want me to talk about? Because I don't want to hear myself talk about anything. So that was the number one last year, was about like how to work together and how it works. And I love how full circle life works, because last year our speech, mine and Hakim's, was the power of partnership. And like fast forward, like I partner with PLA, and in the future, Hakim's going to end up probably partnering with a brand as well. And so like this is why I'm saying you have to stick to what you really believe in, because how much of a testament is that to what I believe in? Like I didn't just make that speech about partnerships because it sounded good. I made it because I truly believe in that, and I've put my money where my mouth is now. Like I am partnering with this amazing brand. So it's really exciting. And I know that all of the things that have been put into play have a lot to do with it, speaking at your event and meeting the people I met at your event. Like I have group chats with some of the girls, that I really got close with at Lash Boss Summit last year. And they've like completely, Allie helped me name our speech for Lash Boss Summit this year. And granted, I knew Allie already, but like we got closer from hanging out all weekend at Lash Boss Summit and really realizing who you align most with. And we've had other offers to collaborate. Chris, that was the first time I met Chris Lash Guy Pro. We had talked on social media. I was supposed to come and do a little class in Austin 2 years ago, but I got in a car accident on the way there. So that should have been where I first met him. But I met him at Lash Boss Summit officially. And after that, now like we're working on something in the back end. And, there's just like, I can't speak to how much for us, Lash Boss Summit really like changed our careers. It changed our lives. And I'm not just saying that. So I don't get any money if you guys buy tickets, by the way. Like I don't get any commission. This is really genuinely just like, now, granted, I did the work too, right? I didn't just sit in the corner and, look at my phone the whole time. I put myself out there and I talk to people, and that's what it takes. And I know nobody wants to hear that because they're like, no, there has to be another way. Can't I just buy this resale class? Can't I just do this? And it's like, you could do that, but that's not all. Like there's so much more. And that's what you're going to learn at Lash Boss Summit. I looked at the list. I know, I think there's more than what's on the website right now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw what's on the website as of right now. And I'm like, just this alone, like just that alone would be more than worth your time. And to me, I'm like, if I would have known all those things, if I understood KPIs back then, if I could have gotten over my fear of the camera 10 years ago, if I, like, if I could have done so many of the things that you guys that are already on the speaker list, I can only imagine where I'd be. I might be PLA, like I might have been that person, but when you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really excited about it too.
I'm so excited to have you guys back, and like to have y'all support too is like such an honor. You guys have been super kind to me and super supportive of everything, and I am really grateful for y'all for that, especially.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you're not just popular at Lash Poppy, like you're popular at PLA, like you're popular through all of us. So it just, again, I know I keep saying it, it's probably annoying at this point, but it's just that alignment. Like I'm big on alignment, I'm big on capacity. And so for me, like knowing that I work for this brand that also loves and adores Shelby and Lash Boss Summit and wants to support everything that you do. Like when I first started here, they were like, oh yeah, no, we're going to do that because we want to support Shelby. And I am like, Hakim was right. This is where I'm supposed to be, because they literally feel like, and they do the masterclass. PLA did the masterclass with Lashcast. Paul and Tuscany have had us speak at LashCon 3 years in a row already. And we've been on their podcast twice. Like we are very aligned with Paul and Tuscany. And so it just makes sense,
Mhm.
you know, like it makes sense that people are aligned. And just like you mentioned, like the lash industry, as far as like retail goes, has gotten a little more saturated in the last years for sure. So has the conference space. So has this, you know, the courses space. Anytime people see that something looks like it can make a lot of money, they're gonna try it. And I've spoken at a lot of conferences now. I mean, last year, I remember Paul came up to me. He's like, "Ashley, you're popular this year." I'm like, "I am?" He's like, "Yeah, I checked the boards. You're speaking on more stages this year than anybody else that I know of." And I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." Like he was listing them off, and I'm like, "Wow, I'm pretty popular this year."
You are.
And I've spoken at my fair share of events, and like small and big. And I have to say, and I've talked about this before, I don't know on camera, but I've talked to people about it. I've never felt as a speaker, as from the attendees, like from what I saw, I've never seen another experience like Lash Boss Summit, and the way that everyone, I mean, I've spoken at conferences where people are leaving halfway through going, mumbling out the door, you know, like, "Oh my God, that was a waste of my money." Like, you know, and then here at this one, you have people sitting in this, still sitting when it's over. Like, what are you waiting for? It's over. Like, you guys got to go. And they just want more, and they're like hungry for it. They can't wait for the next one. And so, and like I said, from the sponsors side, because I knew all the sponsors last year, and they all were really happy with the turnout. They were happy with what they received. And as a speaker, same thing. I just felt so valued, which I'll be honest, a lot of like there are times where some people throw events and they don't think they realize how important the speakers are, because they do a lot of carrying of the weight of getting tickets sold. And I definitely didn't feel that at this event. I felt like you recognized, we had a mutual recognition of how important our both roles were. And so that just mutual respect, along with, like I said, just every little detail was so incredibly thought out. And I told people, I don't care if I never speak at Lash Boss Summit again. Like, I'm going to tell everyone that they need to go, because it's there. I love LashCon, and anyone who knows me and Hakim, we're LashCon stands, right? We freaking we love Paul,
Same.
we love Tiffany, we love LashCon, but we will pay to go to LashCon. Like, we don't like, we will pay to go we
Same.
do. Being a sponsor means you have to pay a lot, but like, they're different, you know, they're very different. And I think people may look at them and think like, "Oh, well, you know, they spoke at LashCon, so it must be the same." It's not. Me and Hakim never do the same presentation ever, like ever. I've never done the same one. I would never do that. But also, and that's just me as a person. I just want to make sure that I'm giving different value everywhere I go. But also, even just this is a more intimate event, and it's made intentionally that way. And the balance between technical and business, and you're not going to get multiple speeches that are the same. I just think that it's so well rounded, and I can go on and on and on and on and talking about it, but I won't bore people. You should go. And if you can't go, like, yeah, like we talked about, like LashCon's great, but it is different. It's different, and it should be, right? You should have two different events, because you have two different type of people, or you have two different people, or you have people at different points in their career.
Mhm.
And that's something that's, I would say go to both personally. Like, I would say go to both, because
Same.
you go for different things, but nonetheless, they're different and they're both great in their own way. I mean, Hakeem will go to, if we go to only two events ever, it'll be Lash Boss Summit for sure, and LashCon.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank
Yeah,
you
me
so
and Ali
much.
have talked about it. We're like, we're Lash Boss Summit and LashCon people from now on. Not to say that we won't go to other ones. I'll be speaking at a couple other things this year, but like, those are just two that we say, no, you should just never miss.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that. I agree wholeheartedly about LashCon as well. Love them too. Well, thank you so much to both of you. I know Hakeem had to go,
Yeah.
but thank you both so much for coming on. Every answer, you guys just, gave such a thorough answer, and lots of gems in this episode. I was learning stuff. I was enjoying the whole thing. So thank you so much for coming
Yeah.
on.
And we'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. I will be in Reno visiting PLA. So I'm so excited for that. And thank you again so much. You are amazing. And
thank you.